Justice with Judge Mablean will be life because in everything we do, it involves the law. Where's your witness?
In the evidence.
That's hearsay.
It's notarized.
I still say it's hearsay.
She's fair.
You gotta help these young men learn how to do this the right way.
Yes, Your Honor.
She's firm.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
No, I don't
Okay.
need to say anything else.
She's honest.
I'm not your child and I'm not your friend. That's the order of the court. Goodbye.
This is Justice with Judge Mablean.
All rise. Both parties, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Court is now in session with the Honorable Judge Mablean presiding.
In the matter of Elizabeth Carter versus Hannah Taylor, Ms. Carter, you're suing her for $2,333, which is the balance of your tuition fees for your son. And you're alleging that he was expelled because of the defendant's actions. Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Defendant says, now that little boy bad, and he's bad because of you. And that's why he got expelled. So let me see what this is all about. Starting with you, Ms. Carter.
Well, thank you for your time, Your Honor. I am a business executive here in Los Angeles, and I am fairly recently divorced about a year ago. So I now have a majority custody of my son, Kyle, who is 7 years old. As a business executive, I obviously work very long hours, and sometimes those hours are unpredictable. So I needed some help, and I put out an ad to hire a nanny. And Hannah over here responded. She seemed like she was pretty well qualified and had some experience. A few months later, after she had been working with us for a while, I got a call from his school and to pick him up. So I immediately left work. He was sent to the principal's office, and that's where they told me he had cursed at the teacher, and they were now expelling him from the school. So.
Cursed?
Yeah.
Like a cuss word?
Exactly.
Oh, at the teacher?
Yep.
And
Yep.
none of this behavior was evident to you?
Well, I mean, he was pretty much a normal 7-year-old, you know.
What's a normal 7-year-old?
Well, you know, they're not always well behaved, you know. You're not always going to be wanting to do your homework or sitting steady and calm, you know, and plus kids are pretty rambunctious. So, I mean, I had heard, you know, report from parent-teacher meeting that there was some aggression with him and other kids, but he didn't seem to have any problems at home. And I would expect to see that similar behavior at home if he was so aggressive and had such negative behavior.
Got you. Okay. So now he was expelled because he said a cuss word.
That's correct.
And where did he get this cuss word from?
Well, he told me it came directly from Hannah.
Directly from the nanny. Okay. Because your son had never heard a cuss word from any other place before. At
Well,
7 years old in America.
I'm very cautious about what I say around him, so I know it didn't come from me.
Does he watch TV?
Well, I make sure that the content he's watching doesn't
How do you
have...
make sure that the content he's watching, that you spend so much time at work, because you're a busy executive and you have so many long hours, so how do you make sure of the content that he's watching?
Well, my same question would go towards the nanny, and I
I'm
don't know
asking
what
you, I
kind
didn't
of
ask the nanny. I
content
asked
she
you,
was showing.
how do you make sure of the content he's watching since you spend so many long hours working with your executive job?
Well, you make sure you have parental controls on television and
That's what I'm asking you. How do you make sure?
Yeah, I do make sure I have those controls on.
But now you say the nanny is the one where he heard the cuss word from. And what was the cuss word?
It was the F word.
The beginning F, ending K word?
That is correct.
Okay. Let's hear about that.
I'd like to say that I am an experienced nanny. I've nannied for 3 years. Yeah, everything was good for a few months. Kyle and I got along great. He was great at doing his work. And then a few months in, his demeanor kind of started to change. He started coming home from school in kind of an upset mood. And it was understandable to me. I mean, as Elizabeth mentioned, his parents had gotten a divorce about a year ago. And his mom was very busy with work and hired a nanny to watch him after school, and his father too, he only saw every other weekend. So I had a lot of compassion for Kyle, you know, a lot of change going on in his home life. And so I would try and be gentle with him when he would come home upset. And
When he come home upset, what are the things he would be upset about?
He would just be in a really noticeably bad mood and would argue with me about doing his homework and go straight to his room. Well, he would be, he just wouldn't listen to me as he used to. He wouldn't.
When you say argue, that means he's talking back, because you can't argue unless you're speaking words. That's what an argument is.
My apologies, Your Honor.
So he would speak back, argue with you about whether he should do his homework or not?
He would talk back to me, yes.
Resistance on going to do the homework?
Yes, he would resist multiple times, and I would go easy on him and say, okay, Kyle, like we can hold off and do homework in a bit, like if you want to just have a snack and hang out in your room. And he would go to his room and he would just stay in his room.
Coming up on Justice with Judge Mablean.
Kept telling him, and he was resisting me and continued to talk back to the point where he threw his textbook at me.
Ooh.
I was extremely affected by that, and I had a momentary slip up, and I told him to sit the F down.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Elizabeth Carter, who is suing Hannah Taylor for financial loss.
Did you report this to his mother?
Yes. After I saw a pattern of this happening, I told Elizabeth, but every time I would bring it up with her, she would either be too tired from work or have other stuff to do and wouldn't really talk to me about it. And then when she would kind of just blame it on Kyle's dad. She said, any negative behavior Kyle's exhibiting is probably from his father. And
yeah, that kind of stuff does cause a child just a little anxiety.
Kyle had also confided in me a bit about his father being more quote unquote fun than his mom, and I think he missed his dad and was dealing with, a lot of change that would affect any 7-year-old. But I noticed in Elizabeth just she wouldn't really want to take any accountability and would often blame her ex-husband or think it had something to do with me. And she mentioned that the parent-teacher conference Kyle was also exhibiting prolonged kind of negative behavior at school and with me, which I brought up to her multiple times.
Is that so? Did she bring that up to you?
She had brought up some issues, but nothing seemed alarming.
Like
that he
what?
didn't want to do his homework. That's very normal for any kid.
Okay, but then don't you have to address that when they don't want to do their homework? Don't you have to address the issue and try to make some changes in the attitude?
Well, he was doing the homework, but resisting is quite normal, so he did seem to be doing his homework, obviously.
And wouldn't you say perhaps it's because of her prodding and the way she was dealing with him, she convinced him to get it done?
Well, that's obviously why I needed a nanny, to be there while I wasn't home.
Go ahead on, Ms. Taylor.
So it really all came to a head one day when Kyle came home in one of these moods that I mentioned. And he was extra upset this day and went straight to his room and refused to do his homework.
Okay,
and
did you tell her about him going to his room and staying in there and not wanting to come out?
I told Elizabeth about everything that was happening.
Did you think that was a problem?
I didn't hear about this specific story, so I don't know what she's talking about.
So you are not aware of the fact that there were days that he'd come in and just go straight to his room and stay and not have any interaction with her? Mm-hmm. And just sit in his room with the door closed?
Yeah, the interaction seemed to be fine, and he said it was fine between the two of them.
And Ms. Taylor never told you that your son would go into his room and stay?
No, nothing specific like that.
Okay. You never tell her that.
I told her that he would go to his room, but I guess I wasn't specific that he wouldn't leave or wouldn't let me.
Well, then it does make a difference. Going to your room is one thing. Going to his room and closing the door and staying in his room after school and not having any interaction with you or not in the television or not out in the open playing his games, that is a sign of some behavioral something going on with him. Mm-hmm. That needs to be addressed.
Agreed. And this day, with this incident, he eventually came out of his room, and I had told him when he went in there and said he didn't want to do his homework. I can't do it today. I said, okay, just chill for a bit, and then please, we have to do your homework before your mom gets home. And Elizabeth was going to be home soon, and so I said, Kyle, you have to do your homework. And what typically happened again, where I kept telling him, and he was resisting me and continued to talk back to the point where he threw his textbook at me.
Ooh.
And in that moment, I told you I've been a nanny for 3 years. I've never had to deal with anything like this. I was extremely affected by that, and I had a momentary slip up, and I told him to sit the F down and do your homework.
Sit the F down, so you use that F word.
Yes, that is correct.
And do your homework.
Yes.
Because you were upset.
Yes, I was very upset by him throwing the textbook at me, and I completely recognize that was a mistake. And
What do you mean by mistake?
mistake to say the F word to a child, to a 7-year-old.
And what else did you say after he threw the book at you?
I said, sit the F down and do your homework. That was it. And he sat down and he did his homework.
So you didn't address the issue of him throwing the book?
No.
And that behavioral pattern?
I was having a really hard time. I was really affected by him throwing it at me, and I needed...
Shocked you?
I was really shocked. And Elizabeth came home not too long after, and I actually had to go outside immediately and take a few deep breaths, and I ended up calling my boyfriend. And so I told him what had happened with Kyle, and he helped me. I breathed through it, and I told him I don't know if I can work for this family anymore if this continues and the mom does nothing about his behavior. I don't know how to discipline this child. He's not my child. And my boyfriend calmed me down, and I went back in there, grabbed my stuff, and I left. And things were going well. Like a week after, I decided to continue the job for Kyle's sake. But a week later is when I got the call from Elizabeth about Kyle being expelled from school. And I was shocked and heartbroken for him. And then she told me it was my fault.
So he was completely expelled as opposed to suspended for one behavioral pattern?
Well, there was just the one other report at a parent-teacher conference where he experienced or showed some behavioral aggression, but it obviously was not to the point of getting expelled. But obviously you can see what he was being exposed to. I mean, how am I supposed to know that there weren't more incidents like that? I actually didn't even know it was that bad.
Well, you heard that he wasn't doing what she asked him to do when she asked him to do it. The teacher told you the same thing, but you kind of brushed it off as he was being a 7-year-old.
Well, you know, I expect people for their jobs to be able to handle those situations.
But it's a mom's responsibility to look after her
She can't
child.
discipline him.
Well, she
Did
can
you
obviously do
allow
what
her
she
to
can.
discipline him?
Well, I obviously don't want any kind of physical abuse on my child.
I didn't
so-
ask for physical. There's many ways to discipline other than physical abuse.
Coming up,
Well, again, I expect schools to take care of that. I mean, this is a very prestigious
you
school.
expect a lot of schools.
They're paid a lot to deal
And
with that.
I know they are. But let me tell you, that responsibility is yours.
you're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Elizabeth Carter, who is suing Hannah Taylor for financial loss.
Did you sit down with her, your nanny, and suggest or say to her, this is the manner in which I discipline my son for misbehavior. This is what I use. This is what I'd like you to do. Or she was just supposed to excuse it and not deal with it at all.
We did not discuss specific tactics on dealing with the situations that might occur.
And nor did you deal with it.
Well, I never saw any issues that needed to be
How
addressed
you gonna
personally.
say it when you have all these hours at work? You're not going to see very much. Let's just get real.
Well, true, but obviously I still might see something, or my husband might notice something when he sees him, and he didn't notice any issues either.
The teacher explained one issue, and obviously I never heard you say, and I sat down and talked with my child about it, and we decided that this is the way it should be handled. Nor did you ever say that when he wasn't doing his homework and she was telling you she would have times that he didn't want to do it, you dismissed it as a normal 7-year-old that doesn't want to do his homework. You have to find ways to deal with that. That is misbehavior, and it has to be addressed.
Well, again, I expect schools to take care of that. I mean, this is a very prestigious
you
school.
expect a lot of schools.
They're paid a lot to deal
And
with that.
I know they are, but let me tell you, that responsibility is yours. You want the schools and teachers there to be able to do what you can't do, and you're his mother. And then if they use the method that they use, and it's not the method that you use, then you're gonna be mad at them. And then you're gonna want to sue the school.
Well, I'm not here to sue the school.
Not today. So you're blaming his expulsion on the fact that she used the F word, and so he went to school and repeated it.
Well,
and
I
that's
think
why
you
he was
can,
expelled.
You can clearly see the correlation in the time frame. If I hired her 6 months ago, and then he only started to display these aggressive issues within the time frame of her being hired, and then subsequently getting expelled, I think it's pretty clear that that negative behavior must be a result of the nanny.
Coming up,
So his aggressive behavior was a pattern that he was beginning to exhibit, and it was caused by something, as something that was happening in his life.
You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean. We're back with the case of Elizabeth Carter, who is suing Hannah Taylor for financial loss.
You got a report from the school within the 6 months that she was there, that he was starting to act out and act aggressively, and you blame it on her when all she does with him is when he comes home from school, it's just one-on-one. So his aggressive behavior was a pattern that he was beginning to exhibit, and it was caused by something, as something that was happening in his life. Something to do with you, with her, with his dad, with the school, a lot of other factors. That's the time you go and seek professional help to try to figure out what's happening with my child. What is he going through? Anytime a child is part of a divorce, and being the intelligent woman that you are, that you purport to be, you know that that causes some serious issues with children. When there are big differences, daddy is fun, you're the one who's more disciplinarian and more strict by the rules. That creates issues for children. And therefore, you need to address it with a professional that's called a psychiatrist, psychologist, mental health professional. That's what your child was in need of. But you'd rather just blame somebody than give him what he needs.
Well, sometimes you don't
And it's
need
obvious
help
that it was
until
her.
something
No,
happens.
it's obvious that he's going through changes.
Well, I think that's pretty evident now, and I understand and respect your opinion and might seek out that kind of professional help.
Judge Mablean's verdict when Justice with Judge Mablean returns. You're watching Justice with Judge Mablean.
I am not going to order her to pay all of your tuition back. You fired her. That's what happened. She lost her job because of what happened. And she was incorrect in using a cuss word. But that's not what caused your child to be expelled. What caused your child to be expelled is that he was going through some serious issues in his life. And I know a 7-year-old knows not to cuss at a teacher. Because you said he knows what 7-year-olds know what to do. They know what to say and how to say it. He knew that was a cuss word. He was exhibiting some behavioral issues. And I'm sure that wasn't the first time he heard that word. You may want to pretend that it was. But that word is said around the world and around school and on television and around people every day of the week. It's such a common vernacular till it's ridiculous among lots of people. The problem was his behavior that got him expelled. Judgment for the defendant.
All rise.
Judge Mablean has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been denied.
Obviously, I don't agree with the decision. I think that Hannah should be responsible for the loss of that tuition because he's been kicked out of school.
I agree with everything the judge said.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.